or coach you on the conversations to have with your soon-to-be ex. Maybe that's the best option for you. On the other hand, maybe the better option is for you to hire us, or, you know, to purchase some tutorials and forms from our online store that we're going to have, and then maybe pay for an hour of an advice and counsel to go through it or individualize it for you. So the online store, to be clear, where we're going to have courses and forms and tutorials, that's done through our separate business, not done through our law firm. And that's important because as lawyers, we have really strict rules about who we can work with and who we can't work with. Like, Naz, do you want to just kind of explain conflicts and how that works for lawyers?
Yeah, so the problem would be if, you know, a particular client reaches out to us, let's say a wife, and we have previously on some level spoken to the husband. Now, it doesn't necessarily even mean the husband hired us or retained us. It is very delicate, right? It's a very delicate situation. You have to be very careful as an attorney, because if one of us, Lisa or myself, got on the phone with the husband and had just a phone call with him and gave him legal advice, right? Yeah. That's where the problem is. We gave him legal advice. We are automatically conflicted out from representing the wife if she calls us later. So we as attorneys have to be very, very careful with that, and we have a system in place for it. But I wanted to elaborate a little bit on what you were saying. I think it's also important for everyone to know, you know, we don't have these, like, we're not the type of law firm that you're going to find elsewhere where it's like you have these 3 options and that's it, right? It's just not how we are, right? Like, these are the 3 packages we offer. We're not even having a conversation with you. It doesn't work that way. So I think it's important for everyone to know, you call us and you say, listen, this is what I have. What can we do? And Lisa and I will both be like, well, here are different options. Does this work for you, or does this work for you? And we can be creative. So, you know, don't just say, look, here's what's on the website. That's all that they offer. No, like, get on a phone call with us. We can offer different packages because everybody has a different need, right? So a lot of obviously, because I'm the one who litigates, right? I'm the one who's always in court. My conversations are always like, how can I prepare you as a person to go in on your own and litigate this and be successful and not get, because we have so many clients who call and they say, well, I tried doing this on my own. I couldn't even get a single piece of evidence in, right? Yeah. Or a single witness to come and testify. And you would think, oh, I could figure it out. But there are some rules that are very specific. There are some judges who are very specific about following the rules. So you can't, as a pro se person, a person without an attorney, just assume you can go in and just have a hearing. You may not even be able to have a hearing, much less be successful on it, right? So a lot of the packages that I'm kind of crafting for our, not only our prospective clients, but our current clients who are saying, look, I'm out of money. I need you to help me. What do I do next? Is helping you and training you on basic rules of evidence, how you can get pieces of evidence in, how can you make sure that your witnesses are able to testify, what kind of questions you need your witnesses and yourself to tell the judge, right? So we not only offer like the paperwork and the packages and how to push all that through the court system, but also to actually prepare you to have a hearing on your own so that you can present the information that you need the judge to hear and hopefully ultimately be successful on that on your own.
Yeah. And the flip side of that is on uncontested cases, right, where you're putting together your own marital settlement agreement, your own parenting plan. Look, I always think, particularly when it comes to parenting plans, that parents are in the best position to decide what's going to work for their family. Having said that, I've prepared, thousands of parenting plans over the last 10 years. So I definitely think about stuff that you're not going to think about. And there are, particularly with equitable distribution, dividing up your assets and your debts, there are mistakes you can make in your marital settlement agreement that you cannot undo. Right? Like, you're stuck with that mistake for the rest of your life. The first example that comes to my mind is, we actually have a client that I have represented, and in this particular case, he's on the benefiting side of this, but it's been literally like excruciating to watch his ex-wife over the last 3 years, because she has an order from their marital settlement agreement that says that he owes her $100,000, and he keeps the house and she is owed $100,000. But it doesn't say what happens if he doesn't pay the $100,000.
Yep. No timeline. No, nothing. No.
Nada. So she has been trying to get him to force him to get the court to force him to sell the house.
Nope. I have one where I felt so bad for this woman. Like I couldn't do anything, right? So she calls and she says, I entered into an agreement 4 or 5 years ago, and they've been traveling under this agreement, right? It was a full parenting plan. They've been traveling under it. And in that agreement, she was not represented by an attorney. And she literally, I'm not exaggerating, gave up everything, right? She gave up her half of the house. She gave up any interest she had in his 401k. She gave everything up. And she's like, well, I got all these other things. And I'm trying to explain to her, well, you were entitled to all these things, right? She was kind of under the impression of like, I got
giving him something.
Yeah. It was a mess, right? Like you were entitled to that and then some. And she was just very confused, and she wasn't represented, and no one told her, you have the right to have half of his retirement. You have the right to have half the equity in the home. She literally gave up everything and calls me and is like, well, I want it back, right? Yeah. I want it back. I want that. I want all that stuff. And I want alimony. And I was, a housewife, and I didn't have any money. And you can't, right? Yeah. Alimony was waived. I mean, it was a mess. So unfortunately, you have to be so careful before you sign anything, before you submit anything to the court. We see so many sad cases.
When you were saying that, it reminded me of another client that I have who we are in the middle of he is attempting to modify his part of his parenting plan and child support, but the child support that he did not realize that child support, the formula is a per child formula, right? So like what you pay for one child is not the same as what you would pay for 3 children. So under Florida law, we have what we call a step down. So as each child emancipates, your child support comes down a little bit. And he signed an agreement that he would pay child support all the way through the youngest one's emancipation, and that there would be no step down. Yeah. So I mean, and sometimes we can fix these things, and sometimes we cannot fix these things. It just is what it is. And so part of this DIY thing also, Nazarena's side, she was talking about is coming from a place of like coaching and preparing you to represent yourself. The other side of it is get coached on what you need to think about in representing yourself on uncontested things too. So back to what DIY is, it's really kind of 2 different things. Number one, it's online courses and tutorials and forms. Those are sold to the public. Anybody can buy them, and it doesn't matter if we've ever talked to you before or haven't talked to you before. We don't represent you in those cases. We are not your lawyer. It is not legal advice. It is legal education. So what's the difference is if you want individualized help, right, you want to take the law and apply it to the facts of your case, which is what legal representation is, then we can help with that too. And we can figure out a way to do that within any budget, from a combination of things, from document review to coaching to, helping you prepare the forms or coach you through a hearing, or any number of different ways that we can think of that would be helpful. I spoke to somebody yesterday who I said, here are your 3 options of what it is that I can help you with. You can hire me just to go to mediation with you. You can hire me to fully represent you, skip mediation and go have a trial, or you can hire us to coach you through how to have that trial on your own. And there's 3 different price points because they're 3 different things. So, but people have different price points. That's the reality of the world we live in, you know?
Yeah, and I think that that's important to be very clear on what that number is, right? Because there's always a package we can craft around it, right? Like, hey, all I have is $1,000. That is it. What can you do for me? Here are the facts of my case, right? So I think it's important for people to know we have the new DIY, right? Crafting these packages. We continue to do our hourly rates, right, through the law firm. That hasn't changed. And we also have for some cases, for some situations, for some clients, we have the flat fee options, right? Because just to touch on the flat fee for just a second, we had a lot of clients who were calling us and saying, well, I need to know how much total, right? Just because I need a budget, my own budget. I need to know. And unfortunately with hourly, like we were saying earlier, I have no idea, right? I don't know if we're going to get an incredibly unreasonable attorney on the other side who's very litigious, who just wants to run up attorney's fees. I don't know. Or if there's an emergency that's going to happen, if there are kids involved and we need to have court within 24 hours, right? So I can't predict. So we decided to start giving clients who needed to be able to budget flat fee options. And the flat fee will be one price, and we will include in there what is actually covered, right? We can go from step A to step G, right? And it'll cover all these things. But it also includes, what do you call it? Like an a la carte menu, right? Where we have different little things that if another situation comes up, we can add it on to our services for you for a price, right? So clients like that, right? Because they have this amount of money, it'll cover me this. But if A, B, and C happen here, I'll know also on a flat rate how much that'll cost and whether it's worth it for me to pay that money to have those motions filed or have those hearings heard. So I think it's important for everyone to know we have all these options, right? Depending on whatever your situation is and what works for you.
You and I are on the same brain or wavelength, I guess, this morning. Or maybe it's a lack of a wavelength because we're both kind of stumbling through our sentences.
I'm tired of trial prepping.
I was just thinking as you were talking that I was thinking of a particular client that you and I have, and you'll know who I'm talking about, that so hired us because a domestic violence injunction had been filed against him. And so we did a flat fee to represent him on the domestic violence injunction. Then he got served with a petition for domestication and modification. Yeah. And we said, look, we can get this dismissed, hire us to get a dismissal. That was a flat fee. But then in the middle of that, all of a sudden after talking to him, he's like, you know what? I know I can get it dismissed, but I don't really want to get it dismissed. So we took that and we're like, okay, well, you've paid us this much. Let's convert it over to an hourly thing. And now we'll move forward that way. I mean, look, things happen and stuff changes. So it's just about like communication about what you have, what you're able to do. And then we can tell you what we have and what we're able to do. You know, I mean, this is just sort of like basic communication between an attorney and their client, which should be happening anyway. But for us, we just are developing more and more flexible systems on how to offer representation, because the reality is that everybody deserves to be able to move through the legal system and be educated and informed about what their rights are and what it is that they're doing. And now you have the opportunity, either through courses or through hiring us on a limited representation, to learn what the lawyers know, right? Because I think that's the big disadvantage is when you're doing all of this stuff on your own, you don't know what the lawyers know. So we can tell you what the lawyers know. We know what the lawyers know.
Yeah, and I just want to touch upon, because you've said the word courses a bunch of times, right? So I want to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about here, right? So we are going to have set up on the website like recordings. So by the Think of them like that.
The website is doityourself.legal. It's like the words, doityourself.legal, and it's up already. The courses are not live yet because we're working through those, which is what I've been doing all weekend.
So. Yeah, so we're you're gonna be able to go onto that website, right? Because it's separate and apart from our regular firm. Which also, by the way, we have an Instagram set up for it. You can start following as well. And so there are going to be recordings where we are going to essentially be like teaching you, think of it like a class, right? Where we're going to be teaching you, and there are going to be different subjects, different areas that you need to know, whether it's going to be tips on what to think about during mediation, right? Or things that you need to make sure are in a parenting plan and how to put it together. So there's going to be lots of different courses like that you will be able to purchase with a package, along with obviously like we can have phone calls, we can have this, we can have that. So again, there will be packages on the website. However, it literally just requires a phone call to us if one of those just doesn't seem to work, and we can come up with different strategies and ideas and options. Don't just assume that what's on the website is all that we have to offer. And obviously, we're just a phone call away. We can also do an advice and counsel and kind of give you a general overview of what you actually need, because maybe you don't know what you need, right? Yeah. Maybe we will tell you, look, this is what you need. That's not working for you. And we can do that on an advice and counsel.
The other thing coming soon to the website as part of those courses is forms with a video tutorial. Yeah. So like, for example, if you need a parenting plan, we have parenting plan forms with a video tutorial where we walk you through that form and what the different provisions mean, what options you have. So there's that website, the doityourself.legal website, is going to be growing, you know, constantly over time. And hopefully that bank of options and yeah, information will get bigger and bigger with time. And in the meantime, like Nazarena said, if what you're looking for is not there yet, get in touch with us, because not only can we potentially custom tailor something for you individually through our law firm, but also, you know, perhaps you're asking for a course that several other people have asked for, and yeah, we're like, you know what, we'll prioritize doing that one this weekend and get that one together and send you out an email and let you know that it's up and running. So I'm apparently being notified that it is time to go feed people.
I think so.
But what's happening behind me. So thanks everybody for joining us this morning, and we will see you next Sunday morning.
Yeah, hopefully have a little bit more energy, less half asleep than we are right now.
Yeah, but I am absolutely hoping to not have worked so much next weekend.
I will try.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.